Welcome into Clippers Talk. I'm Adam Osland. We have a new episode for you. Again, I'm putting these things out. I don't know. I put out about 5 this week. If you missed it, Brian Seaman was on recently. Then Grant Mona came on to talk about the Intuit Dome opening night. And now we are joined by the most talented. It would be Kelli Johnson from Fox 11, home of Arrested Development back in the day. She works with Good Day LA on Fox. Does a fantastic job. Kelli, thanks for joining me here on Clippers Talk.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for hyping me up. I'm like, you're my hype man right now. I love it.
I got you. Anybody that comes on, they deserve it, damn it, because I need help here. So you were at the grand opening last night,
Yes.
and I was maybe following your account pretty closely on Twitter, Kelli Johnson TV, correct?
Yes. Oh, thanks for and Kelli with an I, got to get it right. Yep.
Kelli with an I. And you had great coverage on the opening ceremony for Intuit Dome. Obviously, last night was the Bruno Mars concert. I wanted to get a little bit more in depth on that and just how it happened, because I saw Steve Balmer was there, Coach Lou, Lawrence Frank. Walk me through a little bit of the opening ceremony, everything that was done. I saw, I think, a champagne bottle or a bottle of wine to christen the boat outside in the Intuit Dome Plaza. Just walk me and the listeners through all of it.
Yeah. So, normally when usually when you go, it's just media. So it's not that big of a crowd. You saw, more people when they opened the flagship store. So even just like walking up, like, oh, shoot, like security is fully staffed. Like this is what the, now what the experience is going to be. So that to me was, I was like, oh, this is for real now. This is no longer like immediate. Like this is, we're bringing in the public. So there was that. It took me probably an hour and a half to get there from Hollywood. I did give myself plenty of time, but I guess not. So anyone going to however early you want to leave, give yourself like an extra hour.
What's it going to look like from Burbank? I'm intrigued. If I have to get there about 5 hours before the game starts, but anything for Intuit Dome, I'm there.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm going to have to find like somewhere to eat before and just be here like 5 hours before and not deal with this. But anyway, so I got there. And it was really interesting because you had like the press event, and then you also had like Bruno Mars fans starting to come in. So it was hard to just like who's here for the concert, who's here for the ribbon cutting ceremony. So of course, everybody went. The mayor, of course, Steve Balmer was the man of really the evening. I don't even want to say the hour. And Steve Balmer spoke for 15 minutes because I was taking it on my phone with no tripod. So I definitely know how long, but it's like he could have spoke for an hour and I would have been okay with it. And yeah, so then Jillian Zucker was, the Clippers executive. We see her all the time. She said that they did their research, and the christening of a new sailboat, like if you see the artwork outside the Intuit Dome, is to like break a glass. And so they were going to have Ty Lue do the honors, which was awesome. He didn't do a speech, but he did do that. So it was great to see. He seemed like he was in really good spirits, which, he just won a gold medal. So understandable. And then they did the ribbon cutting ceremony. So after that, there was a lot of people. They were escorting the media over to the red carpet. And then I noticed there was a lot of people. And I was like, what's going on? And I'm on cloud 9. There was a red carpet, starting to see, some people we see on TV, Victoria Justice. I had my fangirl moment, and I was like, these people aren't moving. And I honestly had no idea what was going on with the Bruno Mars situation until I got home and saw social media, what was going on. I wish someone would have tagged me like, hey, girl, did you know like people have been in line for hours? Like I had no clue.
Hey,
so I was like,
look,
yeah.
Predictably, we all said this on Clips and Dip with Chuck Mockler and Will Updike. There are going to be some snags hitching the system a little bit. Ghosts in the machine as you first start off.
Right.
Any new arena would have these issues.
Right.
One is technologically advanced. The marvel that is Intuit Dome opening night. Of course, there's going to be a few hangups here and there, but we still have 2 months before the season, so you can get these little things out of the way now, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I know Steve Balmer, he's going to find out what went wrong and he's going to correct it. That man doesn't play any games. So we'll see what happens tonight. And then they also have a lot of concerts after that. So I think it's just repetition, making sure the system is set up. But I know Steve Balmer and the team, they'll get it done and they'll figure it out.
And if there's a place you have to be stuck outside at right now, Intuit Dome, the plaza, it's beautiful. The flagship store, the outside court, all the artwork. this is modern art as an arena. It is almost like a theme park to basketball in some ways. It feels like Disneyland for Clippers fans.
Exactly.
I know that. You mentioned Steve Ballmer there being up on stage. I saw some of the video of him saying "Go Clips" emphatically at the end. We got the Steve Ballmer moment. He was on cloud nine too. Just give us a few more of the excerpts, I guess, from what he said, because I believe he cut a ribbon too. It wasn't just the christening of the boat. Was there a ribbon that was?
Yeah, there was a ribbon cutting ceremony like right after that. Of course, the mayor was there, Jillian, the head of Intuit, the CEO. So they were all there. They were all there. And his speech, I mean, really, it was his night, but he made it about the fans. And one thing I really loved is what he said: I want people to feel welcome here. I'm more than certain he got word on how Clipper fans were treated or how they felt at crypto. So he did not want to create that. And he probably wants like visiting fans to feel welcome. He said everybody. I really liked how he spoke about that. And I was like, that's really important. It's really nice that he cares. And that's something that really stuck out to me. And just his passion. And like I said, it was like about him, but he really made it about the fans and who the Intuit Dome was built for.
I believe his message speaks to that too on the walkway as you're heading in there. Steve Ballmer letting everyone know that he's a super fan just like you, and he appreciates Clipper Nation. It's amazing to have someone who, I know Brian Seaman speaks to this a lot, but it's much more than just having the richest owner in North American sports, one of the top 5 richest people in the world. It's about his passion and how much he cares about this team and winning and bringing Clipper Nation what they have been longing for some time now. Right. So this is as special as it gets. And I always like to say, and you can speak to this too, Kelli. Kelli Johnson is our guest here from Fox 11 with Good Day LA. She was at the ceremony last night with Intuit Dome opening up with Bruno Mars, the first concert. What I like to say is, in some ways, the Clippers just became a franchise 10 years ago when Steve Ballmer took over. Right. They became a legitimate franchise because if you adhere to that phrase or that saying, that adage, that axiom, the biggest advantage in sports ownership is the biggest advantage in sports. That means they were at a disadvantage for over 40 years until Steve Ballmer came along. So this is a franchise that if you look at it within 10 years, they've made such huge strides already.
Major strides, and they're continuing to build off that. And that reminds me, I had a conversation with a coworker. He's from I believe he's from Australia. So he doesn't know too much about American sports. He's like, asking me about the Clippers. He's like, well, they're better than the Lakers, right? I was like, well, they have 17, I kind of had to explain. He's like, no, but they're better. So it's just really interesting how that message is like, maybe some fans or some Angelinos would not like it, but someone who's new from another country, is like, oh, but this team is better. And I was like, well, yeah, we did win more games. We did beat, than the Lakers, but like at crypto, overall when we faced each other. So I just thought that was really interesting, and it goes to speak. And when I did that documentary, one question I'd asked everyone, it didn't quite make the director's cut. I was asking people, I'm like, how do you feel? Because I moved to LA again. This is like my 3rd time here, but in 2019, I always joke like me, PG, Kawhi, we all came together, and just the change I see. It's not just purple and gold when you go out. It's like you're seeing more Clipper fans, and they're wearing it with pride. And when I'm hiking Runyon, I'm always like running up to people like, go Clippers. Like my Steve Balmer like almost like comes over me, and that enthusiasm, and just like, we see each other like, we're really building something in the city, and it's really been exciting to be a part of it.
It's funny to me because Lakers fans, of course, they're going to spin it their way, and they have the history. There's no denying that. We'll see who has the future here. But they like to make jokes, Clippers fans and their 29 fans. Well, there's been a sellout streak at crypto for the Clippers during Lob City. I think it was 7 straight years or something like that. This isn't anything new, that just because they're opening up a new arena, which is definitely going to be selling out, that the Clippers all of a sudden have this level of fanship. It's been around for a while now.
It has. Yes, it has. And it's growing. And I just really love how, the people, when they move, because there's a lot of transplants, we got to, give credit to our transplants. And they're like, I relate to the Clippers. They're like that, they do associate the Lakers more so with Hollywood or the glam of LA. And I really like that they attract kind of that like real LA, that grittiness to it. And I love that, and just talking to people about it.
So you mentioned your documentary. It's a documentary short. It could
Yeah,
qualify
we
for
mini dog. Yeah.
best documentary short is a category at the Academy Awards, and I'm saying you should submit this, Kelly. It is that good. You did it for
Fine.
Fox 11, of course. Where can people find it, and just what can they expect?
So you can find it on foxla.com. You can just like Google Let's Get Into It, Clippers Doc. It should pop up somewhere, foxla.com, YouTube. That's where you can find it. And what did you ask me? Like, lost my train of thought.
You had a lot of different ways to cover it. You were speaking with the fans. You were getting their perspective on Intuit Dome. I think it was about 15 minutes long. Just give people an idea of exactly what they're going to see here in this short.
So what you're going to see is I really wanted to tell things from a fan experience, and I was able to ask Steve Balmer, like, why did the Clippers need their own home? Fans know, but I really wanted to hear it from him. Like, why did you put so much work, heart, blood, sweat, and tears into this project? And I was surprised to learn that he knew within 6 months of acquiring the Clippers, like, these guys need their own home. He's very well aware of the scheduling issues, the treatment, and he promised Clipper Nation he would build their own arena, and he delivered on that. And you're just going to hear basically about that process. I was also at the groundbreaking, so we have some footage from that. So just telling as best as I can the story of why this was needed. I don't think people understand it. I mean, I'm sure you're on social media, you see those comments as well. They're like, oh, there's only going to be 29 people, our great facility, wrong team. And it's like, no, like, we deserve this, we earned it, and this is why. And I really felt like there was just a lot that people didn't understand. So I really tried to bridge the gap and explain it the best way I could from the people who will be attending the games.
It's beautifully done and articulated. Again, the documentary, the short doc, is Get Into It by Kelli Johnson from Fox 11. So I want to talk about the red carpet because you were there. There were players there, celebrities. I saw my friend Paul Scheer there on the red carpet. Tell me who you talked to, because I retweeted you having a conversation with Mo Bamba, and I found this to be an interesting tidbit. I did the emoji eyes for it to let people know. But he spoke about with you, Mo Bamba, new Clipper backup big man. He said he had been working out with Kawhi in San Diego. Can you elaborate a little bit on that conversation? Did he give any details there?
He didn't. First of all, he's very lovely. Like, sometimes you just never know. He is, like, I'm going to say, like just a teddy bear. He's so sweet and just such a pleasure. So we're on the red carpet. I'm like, how is this? And he's just so excited, not just to see Bruno Mars, but to see the arena he's going to be playing on for the first time. So it's just like everyone on the carpet just was like a kid on the candy store. So I was like, I told him, I said, I'm probably going to ask you this again on media day, but I was like, can you expand on your relationship with Kawhi? And he told me, like, yeah, he reached out to him when he was in high school. He was going through some family stuff, and it was something that Kawhi could relate to. And they've maintained that relationship. Apparently, Kawhi had reached out to him this offseason, and they've had a workout together in San Diego. And I love that. I love that we don't hear too much about Kawhi, but when we do hear about him, he's really paying it forward. He really is a leader. I know a lot of times that comes into question, but it's like he's doing things behind the scenes, and he genuinely cares about this team and the people who are on it.
And a maniacal worker. We have heard about the workout stories with Kawhi Leonard, so I'm guessing Mo Bamba is in great shape currently because it takes that to make it through a workout with Kawhi. We've heard the stories from Patrick Beverley on his side over the years, of course, thinking, I thought I was a hard worker, and then I work out with Kawhi Leonard. There's just a different level to this. Who are some of the other guys maybe you had a chance to chop it up with a little bit and have a conversation with? I saw Camp Christie was there. Like Kobe Brown, Jordan Miller, fresh off what should have been Summer League MVP. I won't get too far into it, but who are some of the other Clippers there?
So who else? So Trenton Flowers was there. Love his hair. I'm like, oh, he might have the best hairstyle on the team. Just, you can't miss him with that hair. And then, speaking to Derrick Jones Jr. for the first time I was like, oh my gosh. And I think he's kind of my personality twin where he comes across as really shy, but when you listen to him, it's like, oh, like he's really funny, so I'm not saying that I am, but I was like, okay. So it was great. And the way a lot of people were loving how we said we have our own arena. They're like, he just got here, but fans were loving that he's already really embracing himself as a Clipper, which we love to see. And I didn't get Brandon Miller. Unfortunately, I was so upset because I did want to talk to him about Summer League, but it's like they all showed showed up around the same time. So you just kind of grabbed who you could. And he looked great, by the way, but I wasn't able to ask him any questions. Kobe Brown, that was very short. He seemed like he was in a hurry. But one thing I did notice, the young guys have a lot of chemistry. No matter how fans feel about, Kawhi or James Harden, I was like, this young unit is really, really special. They are already forming like a friendship. And I think that's something we need to watch. I'm like, if they can keep these guys together, the future looks really, really good for Clipper Nation.
Yeah, regardless of how many of them are called up this season that are on two-way contracts, they're going to be running the G League, I think, just a bit. I mean, Jordan Miller this past season was 8th in scoring in the G League.
Right.
Kobe Brown was putting up numbers. They have a stronger, I think, youth movement going on than people would realize with some of the criticism over Clippers drafts over the years. But you look at it, Terrence Mann, 2nd-round pick, was starting for them in the playoffs. Amir Coffey was starting out of necessity, an undrafted player like that. So I think it's been a little bit overlooked, just that they have had contributors that they have been able to steal late in the draft. And we're hoping a few more now with Jordan Miller, with Kobe Brown, and Cam Christie, to me.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Was Max there with him, or did he go solo?
He was not. And then also, I can't forget Kai Jones. I mean, this is the one, he so
Kai Jones Hive demands it.
Yeah, his manners just blew me away. His mans and thank you. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, like I really appreciated that, and he seemed so grateful. And I asked him, I said, hey, like this team, you're really stepping into a new era and getting a fresh start. And I think he appreciated that. And he's like, I've been working really hard this offseason. He seems so grateful for getting another opportunity to play in the league, and I think he has a lot to prove. And I really hope that we see him do that on the court this season.
I'm rooting for him big time.
Me
Obviously, it's a position of need. If he could come in and somehow steal minutes this season as a backup big for the Clippers, whether he's playing the 4 maybe or playing the 5 for them, I think it would be huge. That infusion of athleticism in youth is something needed, especially in the front court for this team. Who was best dressed? Who wore it better?
You know what?
Besides you, Kelly.
To Trenton Flowers, you're so kind. Oh my God, I came to slay, and I had to put a look together. I was like, my favorite outfit ever. I went with the more bold choice, but thank you anyway. Best dressed. You know what? They were all dressed pretty. You know what? Kai Jones. He had the sailor hat on. I got to give it to him.
Oh, sailor hat for the Clippers. I like this guy.
Like, I didn't even notice until someone commented. I was like, oh my gosh, like, you're right. So he's yeah, I love it. I love somebody who can just really encompass their team. And he looked great. Well, good manners. He's the one that really stood out for me.
I know you weren't able to go to the Bruno Mars concert because you got to get up and work the next morning for Good Day LA on Fox 11. What did you hear? What did you pick up on? I'm interested. I have Jamal Christopher, who was in the building for the concert, coming on with me next Tuesday. So he'll speak to some of the acoustics. But did you pick up anything from fans at Intuit Dome for the first ever concert and just how the experience was?
So for me, it was more so after the fact. I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, we need to work on our self-awareness, because I was taking videos after the red carpet and I was like, there's a lot of people in the Intuit Dome Plaza. I was like, I was just so excited to see like a lot of people and it buzzing. And I was like, oh, it's because they couldn't get in. So I more so knew after the fact when I'm checking social media. I was on Good Day LA Plus this morning speaking about that, and I was able to talk to a Clippers fan via DM, and they were telling me about their experience and what a nightmare it was, how they weren't even able to get food. They're waiting in line. Face recognition didn't work. I was like, oh, sounds like a disaster.
Give them time and patience. These are things that happen when you open a new arena, a new stadium. It's just built into the process. It's what you have to work through a little bit, right?
Right. And Bruno Mars put on a good, so this concert did start late. And it's like, hey, at least, he became aware of the issue. He went on late. People got to see Lady Gaga. I'm so jealous about that. So it sounds like even though maybe, the first hour or so was not the experience people wanted, I think Bruno Mars more than made up for it. And I was happy to hear that.
Good things come to those who wait. I want to ask you this. We waited to find out the decision for some time from Paul George, even though technically he did kind of make it on the day free agency opened up. But there was some uncertainty building up the last couple of weeks. He was a Clipper. I want to know how you're dealing with it now. Have you been able to process it? Have you worked through it? Are you accepting Paul George as a Philadelphia 76er? Because he's going to be at Intuit Dome on November 6th.
So we still have a few more months to process. I mean, as you can see, I'm still pretty sad about it. I know people were not pleased with his postseason performance. Some of the things he's been saying on his podcast, did not appreciate him calling the Clippers the B team. I was like, the new arena's coming. He was at that groundbreaking. But I'm still processing it, to be honest. I really thought he was going to come back, but I also felt like something needed to change. I know like some fans, they want PG and Kawhi gone. They wanted both of them out. But when it comes to Paul George, I mean, I have to thank him so much for everything that he did when he was with the team. Having just last season seen like 4 future Hall of Famers on one team, that was just such a pleasure to watch and something we may not see again. So I honestly don't have an answer for you. I'm sad. I had an NBA fantasy team and I had a lot of Sixers on my squad, people that I rooted for, and now like I can't. So I'm a little salty about it, to be honest. I'm sad.
It's mixed feelings, right?
Right. But it's like, I understand he did the best decision made the best decision for him and his family. I wish him the best. But it feels really strange, when we're at the Intuit Dome and just walking into the store and being like, oh, where's the Paul George jersey? We really feel his absence. But again, I think honestly, seeing the young guys and seeing their chemistry and their enthusiasm and their like readiness, I'm like, okay, we can build around this, and it more than made up for it. So we'll miss P, but I'm really excited to see what these young guys bring.
When I went to the flagship store last Sunday with Chuck and Will from Clips and Dip, I asked one of the guys at the front desk came out and was very helpful setting up the Chuck app and everything. And I was wearing a Batum France jersey that I had gotten because I said if he came back to the Clippers, I would root for France no matter who they were facing, including Team USA. And I didn't know
for after the Kawhi fiasco, I was like, I'm for Team France.
Yeah. Some Clippers fans took that side. They didn't like the fact that Kawhi Leonard was left off the team. I'm sure he's putting in even extra work if that's possible for him this summer. A little get back, a little chip on his shoulder too after being left off the team and sent home. But I rooted for them, I guess. I rooted for Nicholas Batum specifically. I still was rooting for Team USA. I can't help myself.
T-Lou.
T-Lou was there. Yeah. But he happened to be a Batum fan. This gentleman there at the service desk area. And he said, here's the top 3 jerseys being sold right now at the flagship store. Number 1 is James Harden. Number 2, where's number 2? Is Kawhi Leonard. Some people found that interesting. I would say it's probably most likely due to the fact that Kawhi's been a Clipper for 5 years and James Harden has been a Clipper for not even a complete full season last year. So if you're going to buy a new jersey, it might end up being a James Harden because you already have a Kawhi Leonard jersey. But I know there's James Harden fans everywhere, and that's a big jersey too. Number 3, though, most sold jersey. Return Clipper, Nicholas Batum.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty
cool. Batum Battalion. They're here.
Yeah. And it's great to have, as much as it is hard to see. I know for some people, Paul George leaving, Nicholas Batum being back in a Clippers uniform just feels right. He has ascended to an all-time Clipper in a very short period of time. He's only played 3 full seasons with the team, and he is as beloved as any Clipper that I have seen. It is the Batums, I say it all the time, but they are royalty here in Los Angeles, and will be treated as such.
I always tell people, I was like, Lily is my favorite NBA wife on Twitter. Like she is lovely. She defends her man. She does not play any games. I'm like, I really missed her. I'm so glad that they're back. And oh man, the Batum, like he's just this unsung hero. He doesn't really need the fame or recognition. He should get his flowers, but I just remember him doing the most selfless things to help his team win. And I think we all miss that. Lawrence Frank saying he plays the game the right way. Some people took that as a little bit of shade. I'm like, we can uplift someone without tearing others down. I get what Lawrence Frank was saying, and I'm so happy he's back.
I think he's just, and this is what his goal was when he first came to the Clippers after, a disappointing tenure with Charlotte. He said he was trying to be the glue guy. He
Right.
turned into the super glue guy. He turned into the best connector, one of the best role players I have seen that elevates your team and raises your ceiling. Even though if you look at the box score, the numbers aren't huge unless you look at plus minus and net rating and advanced numbers like that. Nicholas Batum I know he hasn't won one yet, and I know he has a silver medal, but he is a championship level type of role player guy, a type of player you have to win a ring. So what are your expectations now as we close things out here, Kelli, for this Clippers season, for this Clippers group? Given the current roster construction, things could still change. But right now, today, here on August 16th, what are you looking for from this Clippers team? Where could you see them finishing in the West?
So, not that I want a repeat of last season, but I think when we saw what the Knicks went through, literally going until the wheels fall off, I was like, that should have been us. So with that being said, I normally don't make predictions because we don't know what injuries are going to look like. We don't know what trades are going to happen. We don't know about chemistry because we do have this looks like the starting lineup's pretty much going to be the same, but there could, Van Gundy and Lou might say, you know what, let's shuffle this around a bit. So
hey, Derek Jones Jr., your guy's likely going to be in the starting lineup.
Right, exactly. It's huge. And silent assassin, I'm calling it right now.
Ooh.
Yeah. So my expectations, I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. I think maybe in that 5th, 6th seed, I know we do not want to be in the play-in. That is not a fun place to be. I think we could avoid it. And I know some people, like I saw like a very early prediction on, like they had us 12th seed. I'm like, really? But we know like, NBA, a lot of NBA fans don't know the Clippers. They clearly don't watch them. So, whatever. But I was like, yeah, 5th, 6th seed. I think we're going to surprise some people.
Those are just aggregators looking for attention. Unlike me on social media, who's above it all.
Artist.
She is Kelli Johnson of Fox LA. Good day, LA. Kelli, thanks for joining me here on Clippers Talk. First time, but this was fantastic.
Yes, it was. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to be bugging you now to come on more often here as I'm just trying to get this channel underway. Where can people find you? And again, where can they find your documentary short? Get into it.
So you can watch the documentary short on foxla.com as well as YouTube. Just put in Let's Get Into It like the Intuit Dome. And then also you can find me on Twitter at Kelli Johnson TV, Kelli with an I. And I'm trying to behave myself more on there now that more people are following me. But some, people speak up a lot. But yeah, that's where you can find me on social media.
It's a war zone sometimes.
It is.
I've been in the trenches with you.
Prepare for battle, and it's already starting. We got a few months to go. I'm like, oh, here we are already.
So, Clipper Nation, please, if you want more interviews like this with Kelli Johnson, just hit that subscribe button below. Smash it, as Brian Seaman said. We'll keep bringing them to you. Coming up next week, as I might take a couple of days off. I don't know if I can resist uploading something else. I've been on a roll. Okay, I'll get a little bit of sleep in. Kelli Johnson is prescribing that. But coming up on Monday, Andrew Greif, who's been with the LA Times, was just in Paris covering the Olympics. He'll be on with me. And then Tuesday, the aforementioned Jamal Christopher, Clipper super fan and super analyst, one of my favorite follows on X. He'll be with me on Tuesday. We'll see what else comes up later next week here on Clippers Talk. This has been another edition of Clippers Talk. For Kelli Johnson, I'm Adam Oslin, signing off. Talk to you next week.